All right, we are live. Welcome, 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 welcome. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Romance and Finance. I am your host this evening. My name is Mr. Life. We also have two of my colleagues on the panel with us. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so Rashidi Locario, Legacy Builders, your real estate agent, credit guru, financial strategist and specialist.
All right. Peace, love, and light. Peace, wealth, and health to the family. My name is Kyron. I'm the newly added to the membership of the Legacy Builders. Here to provide all services required. So if you need anything, just holler.
Definitely. And so what are we talking about today, fellas?
Let's do it. So what's today's topic, fellas? We're gonna be talking about be careful who you lay with. You know,
Right.
So let's not waste any time. Get right into it. Let's expound on that topic. Be careful who you lay with. Let's let's hear our thoughts on it. Like what's let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. So this is a shout out to our man Shannon Sharp, man. Where he just laid down with the wrong person. And in his words, watch where you lay, watch where you play. Lakers in 5. So nah, man. It's important. You got to be careful out here who you laying with and who you sleeping with, man. At the end of the day, it's one of those things where Shannon Sharp chose somebody that he was dealing with, and it was a poor selection. Clearly, it's one of those things where he chose someone. First off, she was extremely young, almost three times younger than him, and then now he's in a situation where she's taking him down. Everything he built from scratch is now he's about to lose it. He just got a contract, for 100 million. The ink's not even dry yet at this point, but yet still at the same time, now he's about to lose everything. ESPN, he had to step away from ESPN at the end of the day. That's the thing right now. So you really got to be careful at the end of the day, who you lay with, because it's important. It could cost you money. And you see with him, it's literally potentially going to cost him $50 million. And even if it gets settled for less, it's still going to cost him millions.
Right.
That's crazy. I mean, just the thought about that. Let's dissect this for a second, fellas. I mean, here we have Shannon Sharp, right? He's been doing this thing, for quite some time now, and it's messed up because where he is at now, he's at his highest pinnacle, and it's a shame that the people that surround him, nobody tapped him on the shoulder and looked like, yo, Shannon, listen, brother, like she's not it. Nobody said up to him. He's surrounded by a bunch of yes men, and no one has told him, listen, I don't think this is a good idea. I'm not saying you can't have fun and do your thing, but to really, be dealing with this young lady for what? What was it, like 24,000 a cheek or something like that? She was asking for like that's crazy, right? Like that's insane. And there's different dynamics to this whole thing. So it's the question of shout out to Leticia. What's going on, Leti? Does he know? Does he have people in his corner when it comes to his finances? I'm pretty sure he does. But who's educating him on it? Who's educating his team on what he should be doing with his money? Why isn't because I know some athletes, they take their money and they put it in a private account where their mother has access to it or somebody that they trust have access to it. Why isn't his money there? Why is she even allowed? Why is he even allowed to, give her this this type of money? It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And then also, I'm not saying that Shannon Sharp ain't got no game. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he's a lame. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is why doesn't he know better? He's supposed to know better. He's in his 50s, right? And this girl's like, what, 18, 19, 20 years old? Something like that, right? And
right.
What's actually happening here? Like his whole, like everything that he works for, it could be gone like real soon. And what does he have to show for that? And then the thing I want to highlight too, it's not just about him. I'm pretty sure he has a whole conglomerate that he works with. He has a whole family that he takes care of. Because when you in that type of limelight, it's not just you. Whether he has children or his cousins, he got a family that counts on him. So when he loses, a lot of people lose too, financially. So when he put himself in this position, he didn't realize what he was doing.
No, yeah, I would say that unfortunately, that's one of our societal pitfalls, is where individuals reach a certain status in society and they feel that they're untouchable and they can just do whatever they want to do, knowing that historically speaking, those type of interactions is only a downfall for melanated men in particular. So for a person to engage in those type of relationships and interactions, you're setting yourself up from jump by even engaging in that.
Exactly.
Be it race, age, demographic, location, social status, regardless of what type of lens you want to look through it at, you're setting yourself up for failure each and every time where you do something like that. That mindless behavior.
No, it's definitely true, man. I mean, it's crazy. And the truth is, to your point, Kalium, you asked the question, why didn't someone tap him on the shoulders? The truth is, though, he should have been working with legacy builders, because what we would have done was give him a budget sheet. We'd have seen like, hey, we'd have seen his budget that he's spending on her. They'd be like, hold on, brother, slow it down. But no, to your point, that's why you got to also associate with yourself with the proper people. That's going to tell you. A lot of times we're in situations where, especially in many of these situations where you have money, and if you don't have the right team members around you, they don't want the money to stop coming. They don't want the checks to stop coming. So they turn into yes men. So you always got to have the right people around you to your point, to tap you on the shoulder. Be like, listen, hold on a second. Let me chill out for a second and think about what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't even make sense. The fact that he was messing with a 19-year-old was ridiculous at 60. Now, listen, we all men, so we know, generally speaking, men, we date younger. We do date younger. But that's like idiot.
That's right. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no logical sense. You know who said it right? Monique said it right. Monique said, Shannon needs somebody who's about 50-something years old, right? That he can come home to. She gonna cook him some pork chops and some steak and some potatoes. Rub his back and ask how his day was. He always said he running around with no 19, 20-year-old. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. So let's check out some of the comments. You got anything in the comments? I see Leticia wrote something in the comments.
Yeah, Leticia, one of the comments said, but the question is, why do black men on his level do the things they do? Go ahead.
That's not a gender specific type of thing. That's a societal thing. Because even women at a particular age date younger and do things like that, but they just don't get vilified and publicized to the same degree. So, I mean, once we rectify the culture, then those type of behaviors will become non-existent.
I agree 100%. That's it.
Now, the next question, she said, why do they date younger?
Well. And from my surmise, from my hypothesis is why individuals would date younger is because they either chasing something that they're lacking, or they're manipulative. Because if you're at an influent type of level, if you're making a certain amount of money, or you have this certain level of social status, a younger person is going to aspire to that. They're going to envy that. They're going to want that. They're going to want to be around that. So, and my hypothesis of why a person would date younger would be to influence that person and to mold them into who they want them to be.
Nah, that's a good point. And I mean, I put my 2 cents in terms of dating younger. I mean, it's multiple reasons why, as men, we date younger. One, to your point, Kai, it's a controlling thing. One, we have more control when we date younger. From that side, I guess that's more not manipulative, but that's part of it. A little small equation. So we don't want you getting crazy out here, ladies.
Right. Right,
The other part of it is, let's be honest, a younger woman, generally speaking, is a little bit more moldable. They will take our advice a little bit more solid and question us less. Now, of course, if you're a weak dude and you just want a full control, then that's where it's like, all right, from a male perspective, you're a weak dude. But generally speaking, for a younger woman, she's just more likely to follow your lead with less questions, in terms of younger. And that's the real thing, because when no, I know, here we go. I'm just speaking generally speaking.
I already knew that was coming, but let me give you the flip side, because just for the audience, I'm a Gemini, so I always look at both sides, duality. So even in the woman's perspective, men that tend to be at a lower social status than a female, they're gonna accept more than what a man equal to the female is going to tolerate. So if the lady is older and she has a younger man or a younger boy or a younger male that she's interacting with, she too can manipulate, mold, and influence that person into who she wants that person to be. So she know that, okay, I'm taking care of you, I'm providing for you, I'm giving you everything that you need to be doing, but I need you to be in the house by this time. I need you to be doing this at this time. I need this done when I'm so. It's a two-way street, because the universe operates on duality. So if it's happening on one side of the spectrum, it's happening on the opposite side of the spectrum as well. It's just on the female side, it doesn't get publicized.
Okay, and okay, we'll let you go hit your thoughts. Okay, yeah, go to the comments after this.
Yeah. So why do men date younger, right? Because there's a certain level of purity that comes with a younger woman, right? That a man desires. Believe it or not, ladies, that's a huge factor, right? To Rob's point, they're coachable. I'm not saying that older women don't listen. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that for the sense of molding, and the level of submission, or the amount of work for that submission, it's just less with a younger woman, just because their level of experience is only but so high. And so that you have that chance to, it's like, think about it like this. It's like, I don't even want to compare it to a car. I'm not going to go there. Let's skip that. But just say in general, that's just what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. The same reason, to Kyron's point, the level of duality. Why do younger men always want to date older? Why do younger women always want to date older men? Because women are naturally, quote unquote, more mature than men. So their level of intellect, it increases it matches up. So, for example, if you have an 18-year-old, right, she may be just mentally mature as a 25-year-old male, just because because women mature faster than men. So they're naturally going to want to be with someone who's older, because they seek that leadership, they seek that companionship, they idolize it. Women need these things from men, but they're going to get that naturally from an older man, because an older man has that experience, and that's what also attracts that woman to that man in the first place. Yeah,
no, I like that explanation, and I do want to simplify it. To your point, Kay, is the best way I like to compare it is your kid. A lot of people on this platform listening, you have kids out here, and when you're going to get the best out of that human being is when they're young. Why is it that people pour into their kids when they're younger? Because you're going to get the most potential out of them when they're younger. Meaning that a 6-7-year-old to a 16-year-old, you're going to achieve the highest potential. Now, when they reach 20, 21, 22, they're molding into the person that they are. Not that they can't achieve greatness, not that they're not good, but at the end of the day, like I said, when a kid is 6 to 16, you can mold them, get them to the highest level. Most 90% of successful people, they were given direction on what to do from a very young age. We don't talk about it, but it's a real true thing. All the famous athletes, Serena, Venus Williams with the father, teaching them exactly what to do, follow direction. So, that's the best way I like to explain it when it comes to, molding women. And not that we're molding to who we want and just being manipulative, but that is part of the equation. Now, again, all of us men are not leaders. So we're not telling you that all men are leaders, and the wrong men trying to mold you, and you allow them to mold you, they'll have you going on a path you don't want to go on. So we're not saying that,
Right.
But
Right.
that's kind of part of it. And then to address, let's go in the comments. We see Letitia here. I find that older men, some black men they lose their stamina, and hours increase, which is what I find is lacking. What are your thoughts? This is a good one. She's dropping some bars. Let's be honest here, though. Like, truth be told, just from a natural standpoint for males, our prime is 18, 19, 20. You know what I mean? In terms of women's, intimate prime, that's 30s and up. And these days, it seems like they prime going up, to be quite honest with you. So that is a true thing. So to be honest with you, Letitia, it's a real thing. I'm not going to pretend like a man. What I could do when I was 25 versus what I could do now is different. You know what I mean? I'm a vet in the game, and we're vets in the game, but what you can do when you're 18, 19, 20 is different from, 30, 35 and up. You know what I'm saying? But you still don't know what you're doing.
That's why you got to get and practice on your strokes.
Yeah. I was about to say it's in accordance to what science you're going to, because us with the melanin, our melanin is forever, and long as you replenish it and maintain it, you can perform feats at whatever age. There's studies and scientific evidence where there's melanated men up in their 80s doing calisthenics, doing pull-ups, where 20-year-olds can't do it.
That's the fact.
So it's all based on the individual. So I tend not to generalize a lot of things.
Well, I mean, what I would say, okay, we being honest, we know that's not the norm, though. Like, you know what I mean?
That's not the norm.
But the thing I want to highlight, though, is that that's a choice, though.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? In the sense of if you're maintaining your body, if you're maintaining your physique, if you're working out 3-4 times a week, you're eating the right things, you stay stress free, you're gonna be able to, stick around. You're gonna be able to, get a couple of strokes in for a couple of extra, maybe 10, 20 years versus somebody who's doing the opposite. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Letitia, we around.
We right here.
We right here. Say hello to the unicorns.
You a fool. And then we got Judy. She said, older women can't be controlled or manipulated. Younger women are very immature and take nonsense that older women won't tolerate. So this is a good one, Judy. Appreciate this comment. So you're absolutely right, to be honest with you. Older women can't be controlled or manipulated. Yes, because you have that experience. At the end of the day, so definitely respect that. That's also a double-sided coin, Judy. That's it also means you can be jaded at that time because of that experience. But to your point, you are absolutely right. And then, for younger women are very immature and take nonsense that older women won't tolerate. And that is true just because they don't know any better. At the end of the day, the younger you are, you learn. We're all learning at all times. So, at a young age, some stuff she doesn't know. She might believe a story that you tell her at the end of the day. Versus an older woman, she's been experienced. She heard that story 18 times. It ain't gonna work anymore. You know what I mean? So with a younger woman, we may have like 6-7 shots, in that scenario. Whereas the older woman's like, listen, stop playing. You can't tell me that. I know that's hot garbage. Let's keep it moving. Like, so it's true. It's true.
Letitia off in this chat.
She can't. She done had the armor. She done had some Gatorade, all types of stuff.
But the other thing I would say too, though, I mean, just tying it back to finances, getting back to the whole thing, especially with Shannon, is like, soul ties. First off, is a real thing. So soul ties is a real thing. So you got to be careful you're connecting with on a serious level. But financially, it's deadly out here. Like you can't take these chances. I mean, you lay with the wrong person. First off, that's intimate. That's soul ties. They're connected to you. Secondly, they know your ins and outs. Once you start having intimacy as people, as interactions, we start giving up secrets, our ins and outs, and that's dangerous information to have, which can be used against you. It's always they say, your enemies are always the ones closest to you. It's a reason for that. So that's why you gotta be careful who you sleep with, because not only can it cost you money, but it can cost you your life at the end of the day. And we see it, and we're in finances. So, you know, a lot of times, even with us with legacy builders, we could tell there's certain couples where it's like, listen, yeah, I got to reevaluate your relationship real quick, because the way this person is spending money right now, it's not good for the both of you. And you can tell in the type of relationships and the type of interactions both partners have, who's wearing the pants, who has whose best interest. And it's real, man. You got to be careful, because like Shannon, he just got the contract for $100 million. Ink ain't even dry.
Right.
And she's going for $50 million. She's not even going to get $50 million. By the time of all the endorsements, everything he loses, he's going to be worth $30 million, and she's still going to walk away with $15 million.
Right.
So he made such a poor choice that she wasn't even intelligent enough to wait 2-3 years for him to get into his deal to accumulate a certain amount of cash, which clearly shows that's his horrible judgment at the end of the day.
And it's funny, because you would naturally, when you think about an athlete, right, you're equating that with a certain level of intelligence, right? But that's not always the case. So the experience that an athlete has, let's take whether a basketball or football player, for example, right? That's what they're good at. That's what they're good at. They've been training their whole life. But have they been training in the dating world? Have they? Do they have that experience of dealing with women for X amount of years to make good judgment calls on, you know, a situation like this? Probably not. And you would think that, you know, when you're making a lot of money, you know what to do with it. But were you educated on finances? Probably not. Because why? Your focus was the sport. So a lot of times we're thinking that just because this person is, this person is famous, they know exactly what to do with money, they're good with women, they're good with all these things, but the truth is they're not. They're good at what they were good at, and that's how they became famous. Right. And so by default, they lacked in the other areas. And this is why a lot of famous people who get caught up in these situations get caught up in them, because they truly don't know any better. They're not experienced in that field. And then on top of it, to add insult to injury, once again, they have the wrong people in their corners, not schooling and training them on what they should be doing. Or maybe they do, but then after they spoke to them a few times, that's like if I speak to you guys about something, after the third or fourth time, I'm going to stop talking to you about it. Right. I warned you. Right. So it could have been a situation like that. Who knows? You know, he's on his high horse. He's living his life. He's living his best life. He don't care. Right? He got all his money coming in. You know, he's on top of the world. And something like this happens. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of different variables to why something like this would happen. I mean, best of luck to this guy. You know, I hope he got the best lawyers to, get him out the situation. But yeah, man. So, I mean, I know we come into a close. We still got a couple of minutes left. I guess, do we have any more comments in the comment section?
Yeah, we got some comments. I guess one of the questions overall, I guess for you fellas, is when do you know when to draw the line in the sand in this type of situation? like you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times we forget it's a new generation where everything is tracked through text message and social media. Like, what are the solutions? Because it had to be clear at some point that you could be recorded, you could be taped. Everything is tracked these days.
Absolutely.
So it's imperative as males for you to be comfortable in yourself, confident in yourself, to be, interacting with people that actually like you and not leading with your wallet. Because that's the problem. When you lead with your wallet, this is what happens. When someone is not dealing with you, generally to deal with you because it's you, this is case in point of what happens. You know what I mean? And so, the main thing I would say is, for fellas, you got to be more self-aware, man. You got to be more self-aware, man. You got to realize you could be recorded, texts are saved. I mean, listen, we all, let's be honest here, when it comes to women, they remember everything. They remember something from 1989 at 1:06 a.m. How they got social media backing them and online backing them, that's a whole nother level. Right. I mean, we got to be careful in these streets. That's just my take.
So, I mean, my solution is risk avoidance. We practice it all the time with insurance. Risk avoidance. If you don't get into that car, there's no way you can get into an accident. Risk avoidance. If you do not, deal with this woman, you can't get in trouble from this woman. Risk avoidance.
Right.
There was no reason why he should have been dealing with this woman in the first place. Because once you open up that door, because what happens is too, you're risking your freedom too. You're risking your future.
Right.
Those are the things that you're risking. And so I would say my solution is risk avoidance.
And see, so my input on it would be people tend to forget that communication is only but a certain percentage of interaction. So if people would be more in tune with the nonverbal cues, aura, the energy, the conversation, the mentality, the courtship. See, people forget that there's a process to interacting with people. There's a courtship. That so when you're intrigued or you're inspired by a person and you want to know that person further, you're supposed to put them through a trial of courtship. So if you put them through a trial of courtship, that can kind of gauge to what degree you want to engage with that person on. So for me, there's certain levels of conversations or certain questions that I ask a particular woman before I even engage with them on any type of intimacy, right? So if you fail these type of questions, you don't know it's a test, you don't know nothing about it. It's just a generalized question that I might present to you, but it's the way that you respond, the energy that you give with it, and how I perceive it. So based off of that has always kept me out of a lot of trouble with any type of interactions with females, because the energy never lies. It's like that movie says, the eyes never lie, Chico. So for me is the energy. The energy never lied, Chico. And if people pay more attention to the energy, then melanated men wouldn't fall into the pitfalls and the disasters that we are so accustomed to falling into.
That's a fact. Yeah. The signs are there. The signs are there. Yeah,
so we know deep down. I mean, let's be honest. Let's not play this game, fellas. We know what type of women we're dealing with. We know what is potentially.
Women give men a test too. Letitia said, "Oh, you give women a test. Women give men a test too."
Yeah,
that's a fact. And unfortunately, Shannon, that girl was giving him a test and he failed it.
Yep.
So from what I heard, she said, "I want you to put a big black baby in." That was the test right then and there. When she said that to him, he should have left that alone.
Absolutely. The signs is always there. Like
he went along with it like, oh. She was like, hook and sink. Got you. Got him. like that. Got him.
You ain't lying.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, we coming to a wrap right here. I mean, okay, you want to go over some of the events that we got coming up?
Yes, we definitely got some.
How we can find it.
We definitely got some events coming up. Correct me if I'm wrong with the names, with the themes and the names. First, we have 2 events actually coming up May 31st. May 31st. We have a Mother's Day event going on for all women, all the ladies out there. If you're listening, there is an event going on for mothers. And can we put that Tawana, could you put that address in the chat for us, please?
Mothers on a Mission.
Yeah, post a flyer somewhere, and so that they can know where that event is at. Also, Leticia, can you put that event in the chat, that flyer in the chat as well? So we have 2 events.
Put the flyer, just the name of it, or how to find it.
Yeah, the name of it, right? The name of the event, and also I know June 21st. That's our next Legacy Builders event. We're having a barbecue June 21st. That's going down in Bloomfield, Connecticut, right? Am I missing any other event?
Yeah, so break it back down to your point. So it's a life insurance event that we hosting in New York. That's going to be on the 31st. To get that information, just go to our pages. We'll give you that information. As far as the 2 Legacy Builders events, it's another one on May 31st in Connecticut as well. That one, go to the website. We're going to be able to have get your tickets there for that on the website and get the information. DM us or go to the website and book an appointment. We'll go over the information. And in the June 21st event, it's going to be a community barbecue. So everybody gets a plate for free. So come out. You do have to RSVP. You have to have the head count. You know. So go to the website, check us out. Go in and get your tickets there. And again, just follow us on social media and DM us. You guys will see all the information for all the 3 events that's coming up. 2 on May 31st and then 1 on June 21st. And then we also have another event coming up in August in New York, which is going to be at the Apollo Renaissance Hotel in Harlem. That one's going to be huge coming up in August. So those are some of the events coming down in the pipeline now.
And before all of those come up, next Monday, we're going to be right back here, 7 p.m., another Romance and Finance. So make sure y'all check us out. You know, any last closing statements before we get out of here, fellas?
Yeah, my last closing statement is, but like Shannon Sharpe would say, like, you know, he was having fun being done. Lakers at 5. Nah, let me stop. Oh man, that's my last comment. So I don't think I got anything else, fellas.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good, man. We had a great conversation. Once again, guys, check out the website. Check out those dates for the next events. Make sure we see you guys at these next events. Peace, love, and light to everyone. And I hope all you guys have a wonderful night.
Peace.
Peace.